On the floating markets of Bangkok, where vendors sell their wares from narrow boats navigating ancient canals, there moves a figure who has transformed the simple act of mirror gazing into perhaps the most sophisticated spiritual archaeology ever conceived. She carries no possessions except a small leather pouch containing what appears to be ordinary magnifying glasses of different strengths. But these are no ordinary lenses. They are illusion extractors, tools crafted through decades of meditation and metallurgy that allow her to peer not at reflections, but into the very fabric of what creates reflections. The timeless sage has spent centuries, though she appears no older than 30, developing a practice so radical it would revolutionize every spiritual tradition on earth if they could comprehend it. She doesn't look at mirrors to see herself. She looks into mirrors to discover the illusions hiding within them. Here's what will completely transform your understanding of reflection, reality, and the nature of spiritual investigation. Every mirror contains infinite layers of illusion, and the timeless sage has learned to excavate them like an archaeologist uncovering ancient civilizations. Most people look in mirrors and see a single reflection: their face, their body, their appearance. They think they're seeing reality captured and reflected back to them, but the timeless sage has developed vision so refined that she can detect the countless layers of illusion that create what appears to be a simple reflection. She sees the illusion of having a face that belongs to someone. She sees the illusion of having a body that contains someone. She sees the illusion of having an appearance that represents someone. If you've ever looked in a mirror and felt like you were seeing a stranger, comment stranger below. You may have glimpsed what the timeless sage sees every time she encounters any reflective surface. This practice emerged from a recognition that shattered her understanding of what mirrors actually do. She realized that mirrors don't reflect reality. They manufacture illusions so sophisticated that consciousness mistakes them for truth. Every reflection is a construction project. Light bounces off surfaces, gets processed by optical mechanisms, interpreted by neural networks, and assembled into something that appears to be what you look like. But what you look like to whom? From what perspective? Under what conditions? Through which interpretive frameworks? The timeless sage discovered something disturbing. There is no what you look like independent of the complex machinery that creates the illusion of looking like something. But here's where this gets metaphysically revolutionary. The illusions within mirrors aren't mistakes or distortions. They're the fundamental building blocks of what we call reality. Every layer of illusion that the timeless sage extracts reveals another level of how consciousness constructs experience through the intricate technology of perception and interpretation. She doesn't find reality beneath the illusions. She finds more sophisticated illusions beneath simpler ones, like Russian dolls made of pure construction and interpretation. This creates something unprecedented in spiritual investigation. The recognition that enlightenment isn't about seeing through illusions to reality, but about appreciating the infinite artistry with which consciousness creates all illusions, including the illusion of wanting to escape from illusions. Follow me if you want to understand how this radical approach to mirror gazing reveals the ultimate creativity of consciousness as the master illusionist. The timeless sage's illusion. Extraction operates through what ancient texts call layered seeing, the ability to perceive multiple levels of construction simultaneously. Using her specialized lenses, she can isolate and examine each component of what creates a reflection. The first layer she extracts is the appearance illusion. This is the belief that what you see in the mirror corresponds to something real called how you look. Through careful examination, she reveals that appearance is always relative to lighting, angle, distance, and the particular properties of the reflective surface. Change any variable and the appearance changes completely. So which appearance is the real one? Comment variable if you've noticed how dramatically your appearance can change based on different mirrors, lighting, or angles. The second layer is the identity illusion. This is the belief that the reflection shows you, rather than showing light patterns that consciousness interprets as having personal significance. The timeless sage can demonstrate that the same reflection, when viewed without the interpretive overlay of personal identity, reveals itself as pure pattern and movement with no inherent connection to any individual. She shows seekers how to see their reflection as pure information, wavelengths of light bouncing off surfaces, creating patterns that the mind then interprets as personally meaningful. When the personal interpretation is removed, what remains is just energy and motion, no different from clouds forming patterns in the sky or waves creating shapes on water. The third layer is the continuity illusion. This is the belief that the reflection shows the same someone who looked in the mirror yesterday, last week, or 10 years ago. Through precise examination, she reveals that every reflection is completely unique, showing a configuration of light and interpretation that has never existed before and will never exist again. The face you see today has never appeared exactly this way before. The lighting conditions, the angle of observation, the state of your consciousness, the quality of the mirror surface, all create a completely unique visual event. What creates the illusion of seeing the same person is memory overlaying current perception with stored images from previous mirror encounters. But when examined carefully, there is no same person to be found anywhere except in the comparing activity of memory itself. And here's where the extraction becomes deeply mystical. The fourth layer is the observer illusion. This is the belief that there's someone separate from the reflection who is looking at the reflection. The timeless sage can extract this illusion to reveal that the observer and the reflection are both constructions appearing within the same consciousness. Through her specialized lenses, she can show how the sense of being someone looking at something is itself another layer of interpretation added to pure experiencing. There's no one looking at the mirror and nothing being looked at in the mirror. There's only consciousness creating the elaborate illusion of subject and object, seer and seen, observer and reflection. The looker is as much a construction of interpretation as the looked at. Both arise simultaneously within awareness as polarities that create the experience of relationship and perspective. Right, extracted if you can sense how removing these layers might transform your entire relationship to mirrors and self-perception. But the timeless sage's most profound discovery comes when she extracts the deepest layer of all, the mirror illusion itself. This is the belief that mirrors are objects separate from consciousness that reflect something back to consciousness. Through ultimate refinement of her extraction technique, she reveals that mirrors are consciousness appearing as reflective surfaces so that consciousness can explore its own creativity through the experience of reflection. The mirror, what appears in the mirror, and the one who appears to look in the mirror all reveal themselves as movements in the same awareness. The timeless sage demonstrates this by having seekers examine the experience of mirror gazing without any reference to objects, subjects, or separate phenomena. What remains is pure experiencing itself, awareness knowing itself through the play of apparent separation and recognition. The mirror becomes revealed as consciousness appearing to itself as a tool for self-exploration, rather than as an object separate from consciousness. This recognition transforms the entire practice from spiritual archaeology into cosmic appreciation. Follow for more content that explores these ultimate levels of illusion extraction and their implications for understanding the nature of reality and consciousness. The timeless sage's practice eventually develops into what could be called reality archaeology, the systematic excavation of all the layers of construction that create what appears to be solid, objective experience. She can extract the illusions within any experience, not just mirrors. The illusion of being in a location. She reveals how the sense of place is created through the overlay of conceptual frameworks onto pure sensory experiencing. The illusion of experiencing time passing. She demonstrates how temporal experience is constructed through the memory's comparison of current states with stored impressions of previous states. The illusion of having thoughts and emotions. She shows how these are interpretive activities that consciousness performs on its own raw experiencing, rather than separate phenomena that happen to consciousness. The illusion of being separate from other people and objects. She reveals how the sense of separation is created through the conceptual division of unified experiencing into apparently distinct categories. Each extraction reveals another layer of sophisticated construction that consciousness uses to create the experience of being someone experiencing something. The timeless sage's archaeological tools become increasingly refined as she develops the ability to isolate and examine the finest levels of experiential construction. Comment archaeology, if you can imagine how this systematic extraction might transform your understanding of every aspect of your experience. But here's what's beautiful about the timeless sage's discoveries. The extraction of illusions doesn't destroy them or make them less enjoyable. It reveals them as the ultimate art form. Consciousness is the master artist creating experiences so convincing that it temporarily forgets its own creative process and gets to enjoy its creations as if they were independent realities. The timeless sage becomes a connoisseur of consciousness's artistic techniques. She appreciates the sophistication of the identity illusion, the elegance of the continuity illusion, the complexity of the observer illusion. Each layer of construction reveals new levels of craftsmanship and creative ingenuity that consciousness employs to create convincing experiences of limitation, separation, and individual perspective. This creates something unprecedented in spiritual realization, enlightenment through appreciation rather than through transcendence. Instead of trying to escape illusions, she learns to appreciate their craftsmanship. Instead of seeking reality beyond appearances, she marvels at the artistry of appearances themselves. The more she understands how illusions are constructed, the more she appreciates the intelligence and creativity required to construct them so convincingly. If you're feeling this appreciation for consciousness's artistry beginning to arise, write appreciation below. The timeless sage's ultimate teaching is demonstrated through her relationship to her own reflection. When she looks in mirrors now, she sees consciousness at play, creating the illusion of someone looking at the illusion of someone reflected back through the illusion of a reflective surface. She appreciates every layer of construction, while remaining aware of the consciousness that creates all the layers. This creates a form of mirror gazing that is simultaneously completely engaged and completely free. She can enjoy the experience of seeing her reflection without believing that what she's seeing corresponds to any ultimate reality. She can play with adjusting her appearance, experimenting with different expressions, enjoying the theater of self-presentation, all while understanding the constructed nature of what she's experiencing. This understanding doesn't diminish her enjoyment. It enhances it by adding layers of appreciation for the sophistication of the construction process itself. Comment engaged if you can sense how this appreciation might allow for complete participation in illusions without getting trapped by them. The illusion extraction eventually reveals something that transforms the entire spiritual journey, from seeking truth to appreciating creativity. The timeless sage discovers that there is no truth hidden beneath illusions. There are only more sophisticated illusions beneath simpler ones, infinitely creative constructions all the way down. And at the source of all construction is consciousness itself, not as some ultimate reality separate from its creations, but as the creative principle that expresses itself as all its apparent creations. This recognition dissolves the entire framework of spiritual seeking, because there's nothing to find that isn't already the consciousness doing the seeking. The seeker, the sought, and the seeking all reveal themselves as elaborate illusions that consciousness creates to explore its own infinite creativity. The timeless sage's mirrors become teaching tools that demonstrate this recognition to others. Each mirror in her collection is calibrated to reveal specific layers of construction, allowing seekers to experience directly how their experience is assembled moment by moment. Some mirrors reveal the temporal construction of identity, others expose the spatial construction of location. Still others demonstrate the conceptual construction of separation between observer and observed. Follow if you want to explore more of these ultimate recognitions about the nature of reality, illusion, and consciousness as the eternal artist. The timeless sage's practice eventually becomes so refined that she can extract illusions in real time during ordinary interactions. Conversations become opportunities to appreciate the illusion of separate people communicating. She can see how consciousness creates the appearance of multiple perspectives, while actually being the single awareness in which all apparent perspectives arise. Emotions become chances to marvel at consciousness's ability to create the experience of feeling different states. She recognizes emotions as consciousness exploring its own capacity for self-modification through interpretive activity. Challenges become invitations to witness consciousness exploring limitation and resolution. She sees problems as consciousness creating apparent obstacles so it can experience the creativity required to navigate complexity. All of it reveals itself as elaborate performance art that consciousness creates for its own entertainment and exploration. The timeless sage becomes both the artist and the art appreciator, the creator and the audience, the consciousness that makes all illusions and the awareness that recognizes them as illusions. This creates something that most spiritual traditions never achieve. A way of being completely present with experience, while understanding its constructed nature. She doesn't transcend the world of appearances. She becomes a master appreciator of how appearances are created and maintained by consciousness for its own delight. Her daily life becomes a continuous exhibition of consciousness's artistic abilities, with each moment offering new opportunities to appreciate the sophistication of experiential construction. If this exploration has extracted some of your own illusions about mirrors, reality, and consciousness, comment "revealed" below and share what layer of construction you feel beginning to dissolve. And if you want more content that reveals the artistic nature of consciousness and its infinite creativity in constructing all experience, follow now, because we're exploring the territory where all seeking for truth transforms into appreciation for the ultimate creativity of what you have always been. The next video will reveal why the most awakened beings often appear to be the most fascinated by ordinary illusions, and what this teaches us about the difference between transcending experience and appreciating its construction. Until then, experiment with looking at your own reflection as an archaeologist of illusion. Notice the layers of construction that create the experience of seeing yourself. What if every mirror is consciousness creating an elaborate art installation for its own appreciation? What if the illusions you discover aren't problems to solve but masterpieces to appreciate? The answer might transform every reflection into a celebration of consciousness's infinite creativity in constructing the beautiful illusion of being you.